Today I'll be showing you how to import sequences into Premiere Pro, how to convert clips into a subsequence, and importing a layered Photoshop project into Premiere Pro as a sequence. Importing sequences from another project is a simple task. First, navigate to the Sequences bin in your Project Explorer window. Go to File, Import, keyboard shortcut Command-I or Control-I, and select the project file as you would to import clips or other elements. Premiere will give you the option of importing the entire project or only selected sequences. It may take a minute for the dynamic link server to locate the sequences within the project. If your project is well organized, you'll be able to find it within Sequences folder. The sequences will appear in your bin, and they can be dragged onto the timeline like any clip. Notice that it will appear in green. Premiere Pro will treat it as a post-rendered clip, but you can double-click on the sequence to edit it in its own timeline. You'll notice that we have some missing media errors, but those can be corrected by right-clicking and choosing Link Media and locating it within the correct folder. Now, as you can see, my main project file has quite a few video tracks. I can shrink that down to a more manageable number by locating sections where there are too many stacked elements. Right here, you can see such a section. Now, in this case, you'll notice I already have a green clip, which means that I already have a subsequence within here, but that is of no consequence. Subsequences can be stacked. To convert a collection of clips and objects to a subsequence, again, first make sure you have chosen the Sequences bin in the Project Explorer. Then, highlight all clips that you want to convert into a subsequence and choose Sequence, Make Subsequence. Keyboard shortcut Shift-U. This subsequence will appear in your Sequences bin, but will not immediately replace the clips in your timeline. First, rename the sequence to something more descriptive. Then on your timeline, you can simply delete the already highlighted clips and drag the clip into your timeline. It will fit perfectly. Sequences not only make it easy to replicate similar segments, but also allow you to treat a portion of your project as a pre-rendered clip, with the effects modifying the entire segment as a whole. It's the equivalent of folders in Photoshop. I'm now going to show you how to import a layered Photoshop project into Premiere Pro as a sequence, which will allow us to make an easy motion graphic subsequence. The first step will be to open Photoshop and create the needed file. For this example, I'm using a file I created for the Biggest Fan Awards online game show. I'm going to use Photoshop to create any elements except those expressly require Premiere Pro or After Effects. This especially includes such things as text boxes and static objects. It is important to label all your layers, which is good practice in general. Now we move back to Premiere Pro to import the Photoshop file. First, make sure you've selected your sequence bin and choose File, Import, and navigate to the appropriate file. The Photoshop file I just edited is located at Interns, Editors, BFA Episode 3, Standard Files, Graphics, and press Import. A prompt window will pop up asking how you want to import the file. By default, it will assume you want to merge and flatten all the layers into a single static image file. However, instead, you want to hit the drop-down arrow by Import As and choose Sequence. You will be prompted about which layers you want to import. By default, all visible layers will be checked, which is most likely what you want. Click OK. Premiere will create a new bin inside your Sequences folder labeled with the name of your Photoshop project. Inside, you'll find all your individual layers, but you'll also find a sequence object. It will be a name the same as your Photoshop file, so rename it if you want something more descriptive or relevant. You'll notice that this subsequence will have many video tracks. This is why subsequences are so useful. Having a couple dozen tracks on your main sequence file would clutter up your timeline and force you to do a lot of vertical scrolling. You can also duplicate sequence files if you have similar segments that you'll need to recreate. From here, you can edit the elements to your liking. They will be treated like Premiere elements. Move them, resize them, add effects, or change the duration. You will save time and space by not creating hundreds of individual titles for every text object that you need. If you modify your project in Photoshop, it will update in Premiere Pro. So if you're planning on using the Photoshop project as a template for multiple segments, simply save as and create multiple copies of the file.